Next week on Thursday, Chapter 16. Joe. I talked 19 to the dozen to keep awkward silences at bay. Harold tapped at the keyboard. The letters grew into words and sprang to life on the monitors. How is Joe? Joe was my neighbor 2 doors down. His wife had Alzheimer's disease. I went with Joe to visit Vera at the nursing home on Monday, I replied. Harold's fingers moved. The keys clicked in response. How was she? I couldn't bear to see the state she was in, I said. And Joe? Joe cried when he talked about her. She was the love of his life. He broke his back taking care of her. Broke his back? Yes, literally. She tried to jump off the balcony when she heard the diagnosis. He managed to stop her, but seriously injured his back in the process. She's a big lady. It never healed properly. He is in agony pretty much all the time. Painkillers don't work anymore. We floundered for some moments in a cloak of grim silence until I said, I thought of you as I watched Joe feeding his wife. I wondered which was better, to lose one's mind or the use of one's body. I glanced at Harold. I think, for the patient's sake, it's better that he lose his sensibilities. Of course, from a loved one's point of view, it's the lucidity of mind that's the vital imperative. Am I right? Harold's eyes swam. His prominent Adam's apple bounced, and he swallowed hard and brushed away the constant flood of saliva. He nodded. You are blessed to have Gloria, you know, I said. The fingers recommenced their keyboard tap dance. He wrote, I know, she's a trooper. Kathy stepped in a little after 5 o'clock to announce her departure. Mr. Wiseman, don't forget, Fran is upstairs. Don't lock her in, she admonished in a little nasal voice. The previous week, Harold had absent-mindedly locked up while Gloria was still in her office and headed off home. Kathy glanced at me and caught my eye. We both remembered and began to giggle helplessly in a giddy girl moment. It's not that funny at all. The main door banged shut. She was gone. I rose to my feet. Harold prodded the keyboard. He wrote, Wait, I'll shut down the machines. We can go out together. Don't forget poor Fran, I said, casting my eyes upwards to remind him that Gloria's friend was still in the building. A wry smile touched his lips. He held out his arms. I wrapped mine around him. I felt the brittle boniness of his frame. David and the twins went rollerblading on Saturday with David's friend Des and his children. Des had recently found himself reluctantly single. I stepped through the front door into a golden fall day, intoxicated at the thought of an entire afternoon to myself. The toot of a horn called me to attention. The car slowed down and my neighbor Joe stuck his shiny head out of the driver's side window. Joe was distraught. They found Vera on the floor. She went into convulsions. It doesn't look good. Angst accentuated his European accent. I kicked myself when he drove off for not offering to accompany him to the hospital. Harold, Des, Joe. My entire being groaned beneath the burden of others' sorrows. I needed this walk. My heart leapt when the wrought iron bridge came into sight. I stepped on and entered a delicious world of quiet and serenity. I loved to think this was my own private spot. The occasional sound of barking dogs, walkers, and cyclists, and the ubiquitous litter of newspapers loudly denied my fantasy. Someone who's paid to deliver the paper is dumping it here. I stared unblinking for several seconds, mentally photographing the image of my enchanted woods. I wanted to remember and savor its wonder when the bitterness of winter deterred me from coming to this place. A breeze rustled through the canopy of leaves, and golden splashes of sunshine cast dapples of light and shadow on the tarred path and in the undergrowth. The stream ran to the left of me. It rushed past, murky and swollen after last night's storm. A downed tree was poised bridge-like across the waters, and several broken branches and twigs lay scattered about. Chattering squirrels, black, brown, and grey, chased each other up and down the boles of trees and across my path. Who'd think that all this exists just yards away from urban backyards? My stream churned angrily. I dared not set foot on the stepping stones to cross over to the other side. No losing myself under the trees along the far bank today. No renewed moment of indignation as I wondered how someone had the gall to abandon a hideous red couch in my hiding place, and how in the world had anyone managed to haul such a huge thing to that spot. I loved the newly washed feel of the calm after the storm. The world had washed her face and put her makeup on. I ventured closer to the bank, choosing not to sit on the graffiti-besmirched retaining wall. The stream had overflowed under the pressure of the relentless downpour. Saturated soil squelched beneath my feet. I sat on the flat rock at the foot of the grand old weeping willow, exhaling slowly. Nature has a catalytic, twofold effect on me. It soothes my senses and calms the aches in my heart, then sets my mind racing at breakneck speed. My legs crossed at the ankles. I rested my chin in my hand and began to talk to God. I whispered urgently, sorrowfully, angrily. I pleaded. The tears flowed unheeded. Des, Joe, Harold. My mind meandered over to that day in March last year, a year and a half ago, when Harold's diagnosis was finally made official. Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, death sentence, the worst kind. God, please tell me why. To be continued.